I've been away so long, away so long. Are you still waiting there for me, my love? I'll soon be home again in my land.
Hello and welcome once again to the show, which tonight comes from Ireland's capital city of Dublin. My very special guest tonight will be former Prime Minister Garret FitzGerald, the famous Guinness choir and the legendary Dubliner. So I do hope you'll stay with us.
To be home again in my land, to be where I belong, where I belong. And I know I'll find a welcome there when I am home again in my land.
I well remember the first time I came to Dublin, way over 40 years ago now. At that time I was an enthusiastic young apprentice of the entertainment world. But you know, whatever little bit of talent you may or may not have fades into insignificance when you think of the people who came before you in this great city. You know, people like George Bernard Shaw and Oscar Wilde and Sean O'Casey and James Joyce and Yeats and so on and so on. Now, it would be a lovely exercise to stand on this little halfpenny bridge right in the centre of Dublin from dawn to dusk and watch an entire day in the life of the city go by. Unfortunately, television doesn't give us these luxuries, but we're going to do the very best we can.
In the morning, when the moon is at its rest, you will see me at the time I love the best, watching rainbows play on sunlight, pools of water iced from cold night. In the morning, 'tis the morning of my life. 'Tis the morning of my life. In the morning of my life, the minutes take so long to drift away. So please be patient with your life. It's only morning and you've still to live your day. In the daytime, I will meet you as before. You will find me waiting by the ocean floor, building castles in the shifting sands, in a world that no one understands. In the daytime, in the daytime of your life. In the daytime of your life. In the daytime of your life. The minutes soon will pass and drift away. So please be patient with your life. Until the evening you have still to live your day. The top right-hand corner of the ceiling in my room, where we'll stay until the sun shines another day. to swing on clotheslines till the dawning, till the morning of my life, till the morning of my life, till the morning, till the morning, till the morning.
It's time now to introduce my first guest this evening, a man who can tell us quite a bit about the city of Dublin. He's one of the most respected and loved politicians in this country, and on 2 separate occasions he's been Prime Minister. He's kindly invited me along to his house to have a few words. Dr. Garret FitzGerald. Well, first of all, Dr. FitzGerald, may I just say it's a pleasure, and thank you for giving me so much of your time this morning.
I'm happy to talk to you about it, but don't call me Dr. FitzGerald. This is an informal country. I remember going down the street one time, and a woman on the far side of the street shouting across to me, "Hey, Garret, you're getting pretty fat." So I think Dr. FitzGerald is a bit too much.
Now, you're very much a Dublin man, are you? Are you the end of a long line of Dubliners?
No, I'm the beginning of a long line of Dubliners, I hope. No, my parents weren't Dubliners at all. My father was a Londoner, born of parents from Cork and Kerry, and brought up in London, and in fact only came to Ireland twice before he was aged 25. My mother was a Northerner from a Northern Unionist family who met my father in the Gaelic League. They got married, went to live in France for a while, and came to Ireland to Kerry in 1913. And the reason I'm a Dubliner is because my mother decided to keep hens when the war broke out in 1914. When the Department of Agriculture pamphlet said that if you wanted the hens to lay well, you fed them late at night. So every night at midnight she'd go out with a lantern to feed the hens. The police on the other side of the bay thought my father was signalling to German submarines and expelled him. And he came to live in Bray, near Dublin. And that's why I'm a Dubliner.
Now, you obviously have a great love for Dublin. You obviously have a great affection for the place. Now, I used to live in Dublin back in the late 40s. In those days, I was playing around in dance bands in probably your dancing days early on.
They were short.
And then
lived.
My only association with Dublin since then really has been the odd week at the theatres and so on. So I've lost touch with Dublin from that point of view. Now, had I stayed in Dublin over those 40 years, what changes do you think I'd have been very aware of in that period?
Well, of course, when you're in a place, you aren't as aware of the changes. I should be asking you that question. But having said that, I think there are a lot of changes. Obviously, Dublin and the country is much better off than it was then in material terms. There is, of course, still poverty, particularly because of the large scale of unemployment, and in some centre city areas and in outer suburbs there's great deprivation. But there isn't the level of absolute poverty, and it isn't a problem with people who have jobs, who in those days were very poorly paid, as it was 40 years ago. So there's a change there. And then from the 1960s onwards, there was a lot of building in Dublin, new buildings put up, not, I think, most of them of great distinction, and a lot of the older buildings and streetscapes were damaged or destroyed. Fortunately, we've kept a good deal still, though, and the character of the city is still evident there.
When I was a young lad back here, nearly all my social activities were based around the religious life, really. I used to do things at the church and at the clubs and at the schools and everything. Now, has that side of life changed all that much?
It's changed a good deal, but in rural areas, and probably in some of the older parts of the city, the parish still remains has an important social function, quite apart from religious belief, quite apart from the question of maintenance of values. The life can centre still to some degree around the parish hall. But of course in the city that's less true than in the country, because you have other facilities. One of the problems is that in some of the new suburbs that have been built, where there are houses but nothing else, except a church and schools, the people who move out to them are deracinated, uprooted from the environment. The level of religious practice is low, well below half would go to Mass on Sundays. And there isn't any substitute for the church as a social centre. So there's a kind of atomization of people in these suburbs, because we haven't really substituted any other centre of social activity than the church that was there before. So we have problems socially from the decline in religious belief, quite apart from any other questions of values or beliefs or faith. But at the same time, there is another movement taking place, a minority one perhaps, but there is a growing interest in theology, and quite a large minority of people who are seriously interested in their religion in a way that was never true before. And there's a lot of intellectual vitality in that area, so there's a positive as well as a negative side.
I suppose we all have highlights in our working life that we look back on with, you know, with a certain amount of pride and pleasure.
The things that I enjoyed, the thing I enjoyed most, I think, was being Minister of Foreign Affairs and playing the role that I was able to play and leading us into Europe, because I became minister within a few weeks of our joining the community and establishing our position in Europe. That I probably got more pleasure from than anything else. Pride, well, probably the work that I did as Taoiseach in terms of the forum which brought the nationalist parties in Ireland together to establish a common basis for action, moving on to the Anglo-Irish Agreement.
What improvements would you like your grandchildren to enjoy in 40 years' time?
Well, I'd like them to live in a country which was healthy. I don't mean in the sense of physical health, but where the environment was a good one and a happy one and a relaxed one, without too much of the tensions and pressures of modern life. And I'm pretty certain it won't be like that. I'm sure it's going to get worse and more tense and deteriorate, because I think when you reach my age, you always think things are going to get worse. Having said that, of course, they'll get better too in other ways.
And I mean, Ireland as a whole, there are certain qualities that you think Ireland would always maintain anyway, do you, that wouldn't be peculiar to another country?
I think the quality of personal relationships in Ireland amongst Irish people and between Irish people and people of other nationalities is something special. And that's something we have maintained. I think we will maintain.
Well, it's been a great pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for giving me your time.
I've enjoyed it, Val.
Thank you. This is Fishamble Street, probably not the most impressive place you've ever seen, but according to a commemorative plaque on the wall over there, had you been fortunate enough on the 13th of April 1742 to be a member of the music hall audience over there, you would have heard the first ever public performance of Handel's famous Messiah. And since we're in the area, we thought it would be appropriate to hear part of that work sung by the famous Guinness Choir. They're going to sing it for us now just across the road in St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Oh,
From there I made my way to the lovely seaport of Howth in County Dublin to keep an appointment with part of a very famous group of Irish musicians and singers. They promised me a boat ride by way of the Liffey to one of their favourite haunts in the centre of Dublin. So to set the mood for my trip with the Dubliners, a nautical song I picked up in Australia.
I am an old sailor, Bailey's my name. I've sailed the world over and over again. Now the salt and the years have rusted my bones, so I've taken a berth at the old seaman's home. The room's kind of plain, at least there's a view. From over the rooftops I see the deep blue, and I hear the tugs join the tankers' refrain, and the splash and the rattle of anchors and chains. And late at night a gentle sou'easter comes up off the harbor. The room starts a-creaking, my heart starts a-beating just a little bit harder, and blow me down if I ain't sailing again. The big steamers from Boston to Bristol, Cape Town to Melbourne to the Gulf of Siam. Now my pockets are full with a fortune in memories, keeping me company wherever I am. And late at night a gentle sou'easter comes up off the harbor. The room starts a-creaking, my heart starts a-beating just a little bit harder, and blow me down if I ain't sailing again. Yes, late at night a gentle sou'easter comes up off the harbor. The room starts a-creaking, my heart starts a-beating just a little bit harder, and blow me down if I ain't sailing again.
Two Dubliners here at the moment. We're going to meet the rest later on, but Barney is up in the wheelhouse.
Barney's driving the boat.
You all right there, Barney?
Hello, Val. Welcome aboard.
Now you're a Dublin man, aren't you, John?
I'm a real Dubliner, yeah.
You are, but you're not, are you, Sean? You
I come from an outer suburb called Galway.
Galway, right over the other side of the country. When did you first come to Dublin?
I was about 13 or 14.
Really? Were you a little bit in awe of Dublin then?
I was. It was the first time I ever saw traffic lights.
You're joking? Really?
Yes.
Did they have any traffic lights
not
in
at
Galway
that time
then?
in Galway, no. I'm talking about 1954, 55.
Now, are you an original Dubliner? Are you one of the
I'm one of the originals.
Very early ones.
Well, I suppose the group was together about 12 months or a year and a half or so when I joined, but that's 27 years ago, so I could almost claim to be one of the originals, yeah.
Have you enjoyed your time with the Dubliners, really?
Yeah, it's been a great, varied life. We've been all over the world. And
on the other side of just coming up here is Christchurch. Now, Christchurch is very special to you, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's one of our historical buildings in the city. It was built around the 11th century, and it's built on the site where the original city was formed. And last year we had great millennium celebrations here. The city was 1,000 years old, and we were invited to play at a special ecumenical service in the cathedral. And I was really taken, I was really struck by the very strong kind of medieval atmosphere in the place, and the whole sense of history. So I wrote this tune, this little piece, shortly afterwards, and I think I partly captured this kind of old atmosphere.
Yeah. Is there an ecumenical sort of activity here? Are people trying to get that sort of thing going at the churches?
Oh, I think there is. I mean, I grew up with people, Protestants. I'm a Catholic myself, but I grew up with Protestants in our neighbourhood, and like I knew them just as pals of mine for years, and it was only afterwards like somebody said, you know, your man is a Protestant, sir. Doesn't make any difference, you know.
If only it could be like that all over.
Exactly,
it would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Meanwhile, we're going to have a listen to your piece called Christchurch, and then we're all going to head down to O'Donoghue's and see where it all started for the Dubliners. Well, here we are in one of the most famous pubs in Dublin, O'Donoghue's, and I'm surrounded by some of the most famous beards in show business. The last fellow, by the way, Barney, I think it's only fair to mention he's putting the boat back in the garage. Now, it all started here, didn't it, for you fellas, about 26, many years ago?
27 years ago, but sometimes it feels just like yesterday.
Yeah.
And when we come in here, the pub hasn't changed at all, except there's a few more pictures here and there, but that's all.
Now, has it ever sort of surprised you that your particular kind of music, which is very, very Irish, really, how is it that your music can be so popular in all sorts of countries, you know, like Germany and Scandinavia? It's quite remarkable.
It's a bit of a mystery to me as well. But I just sometimes now and again kneel down and say, thank God. The Trinity's a bit of a mystery as well, but we just accept it.
Your voice, Ronnie, has been described in many ways. It's been sounding like gravel falling off the back of a lorry, and a sort of a gravel pit exploding into action, or whatever it is. I've read these things about you. Now, is that your natural voice when you sing, or did you think that would be a good way to sing?
Anybody with any sense would never think it was a good way to sing.
Are the beards, and are they obligatory? Have you got to have a beard to be?
You have, now you have to have. Definitely that's established now. I mean, in the beginning it was pure accident.
Yeah. So I've just thought of a great title for your new song, The Last Time Ever I Saw My Face.
Very good. A few years ago now.
Let me ask you something else now, before we have a little piece of music from you. You fellas, when you're called the Dubliners, and it's quite obvious that as far as you're concerned, Dublin is the hub of the universe. The whole world revolves around Dublin. Now, and still, in some of your songs, you sing that Dublin is not the place it used to be. Is that true?
Well, I don't think it's quite what it was, but I mean, for a long period there, they were putting up these terrible glass and concrete buildings, the same as in every other city in Europe, almost.
Yeah.
And it was kind of taking away the character of the place. But recently, some sort of an effort has been made, because quite recently at the top of Grafton Street there's been a nice building, which is kind of it's modern, but it's within the context of the whole area. It's in keeping with the whole area.
And one of your most famous songs, we'll have a bit of music now, one of your most famous songs is The Railroad Time. So let's have a pause and listen to that.
Okay, right.
Raised on songs and stories, heroes of renown, the passing tales and glories that once was Dublin town. The hallowed halls and houses, the haunting children's rhymes, that once was part of Dublin in the rare old times. Ring a rosy, as the light declines, I'll remember Dublin city in the rare old times. Oh, me name it is Sean Dempsey, as Dublin as could be, born hard and late in Pimlico, in a house that ceased to be. By trade I was a cooper, lost out to redundancy, like my house that fell to progress, my trade's a memory. Oh, the years have made me bitter, the gargle dims me brain, 'cause Dublin keeps on changing and nothing seems the same. The pillar and the met have gone, the royal long since pulled down, as the grey unyielding concrete makes a city of my town. Ring a rosy, as the light declines, I remember Dublin city in the rare old times. Fare thee well, sweet Anna Liffey, I can no longer stay and watch the new glass cages that spring up along the quay. My mind's too full of memories, too old to hear new chimes. I'm a part of what was Dublin in the rare old times. Ring a rosy, as the light declines, I remember Dublin city in the rare old times.
As I went down through Dublin city at the hour of 12 of the night, who did I see but a Spanish lady washing her feet by candlelight? First she washed and then she dried them by her fire of ember coal. In all my life I ne'er did see a maid so sweet about the soul. White fella tooraloora laddie, white fella tooraloora lee, white fella tooraloora laddie, white fella tooraloora lee. As I went down through Dublin city when the hour was past midnight, who did I see but a Spanish lady washing her hair in broad daylight? First she washed it, then she dried it, in her lap was a velvet comb. In all my life I ne'er did see a maid so sweet since I did roam. White fella tooraloora laddie, white fella tooraloora lee, white fella tooraloora laddie, white fella tooraloora lee. As I came back through Dublin city, as the sun began to set, who did I see but a Spanish lady catching a moth in a golden net? When she saw me then she fled me, lifting her petticoat over her knee. In all my life I ne'er did see a maid so sweet as a Spanish lady. Whack ballatoora laddie, whack ballatoora lee, whack ballatoora laddie, whack ballatoora lee. Whack ballatoora laddie, whack ballatoora lee, whack ballatoora laddie, whack ballatoora lee.
And that's about it for this week. My special thanks now to the Dubliners, to the Guinness Choir, and to Garret FitzGerald. I'll be on the move again next week when I'll be introducing to you Noreen Nerean and that world-famous group of Irish musicians, the Chieftains. So I hope you'll try to join us again. Till then, from all of us, bye-bye.